Alright, today we're going to conclude our study of Chapter 6 with Lesson 4 on air pollution. There are 5 objectives today. You should be able to do the following by the end of the lesson. Compare primary and secondary air pollution. Identify the major sources of pollution. Explain the effects of the ozone hole. List 5 effects of air pollution on the human body. And identify ways to reduce air pollution. Make sure you go back to Brain Pop, log in through ClassLink, and watch air pollution and complete the quiz. Again, I picked them randomly to go in Gradebook Wizard. So primary pollutants. These are pollutants that are put directly into the air by humans or by natural activity. So such as volcanoes and things of that nature. So primary pollutants, carbon monoxide, dust, smoke, chemicals from paint, and any other substances that are human created are called primary pollutants. So this is an example of ozone, which is from automobile exhaust. This would be a secondary pollutant. So pollutants form when primary pollutants react with other primary pollutants or naturally occurring substances like water vapor. That's secondary pollutants. So smog in this picture is an example of a secondary pollutant that forms when ozone and vehicle exhaust react with the sunlight. So as you can see, you have the automobile exhaust. The vehicle exhaust reacts with the air and sunlight to form ozone, which then in turn reacts with the vehicle exhaust to form smog. So you'll see sometimes in the summer where they will have air pollution days, like they will announce it on those digital billboards on the interstate asking you to carpool to prevent less pollution or to help with less pollution. And the weather people will also give you alerts. You know, today's going to be a pretty bad air quality day. So that's what they mean by that. So sources of human-caused air pollution, we've got a picture here, and we'll go through each one of them. We know that industrial plants and electric power plants that burn fossil fuels like coal to produce energy, they of course put pollution into the atmosphere. They have since tried to cut back on those emissions through creating the Environmental Protection Agency. So they've had to spend money to kind of bring the factory and industrial plants up to code, so to speak, so they don't produce as much pollution. And indoor air pollution can be a problem as well, and that's of course the air inside a building sometimes can be more polluted than the air outside of the building. So let's kind of take a look at this. Let's just start here. We've got fungi and bacteria. That can be from dirty heating and air conditioning vents. And then carbon monoxide from faulty furnace, or maybe a car left running in the garage. Never ever leave a car running under the garage with the door down. That would make you go to sleep, and if no one found you, you would eventually die because you would run out of oxygen. So don't leave the car running under the garage. Same goes with a lawnmower or anything that's running off of gasoline. It would cause carbon monoxide. Most of you probably have carbon monoxide detectors in your house, just like you have smoke alarms. Solvents from paint strippers and thinners can also be harmful. Formaldehyde, that can be found in furniture and carpeting, and sometimes from the foam insulation that's in your house as well. If you have your clothes dry cleaned, they are, of course, dry cleaned with chemicals, so they emit that, which can be harmful. Chlorine and ammonia, just common household cleaners. By the way, never ever mix household cleaners together. They can produce a toxic gas that can make you pass out, or possibly, just like the carbon monoxide, could lead to death because you're not getting enough oxygen. So never, ever, ever mix cleaning solutions together. And then nitrogen oxides from unvented, maybe a gas stove, a wood stove, or even a kerosene heater. You just have to be really, really careful with your heating sources and make sure there's plenty of airflow and ventilation. So these are all sources of human-caused air pollution within your house. Now let's kind of switch gears for just a second. Let's talk about acid precipitation. That sounds fun. So rain, sleet, or snow that contains a high concentration of acids, and that's due to it falling through the layers of the atmosphere, which have absorbed what we've put out as pollution. This is called acid precipitation. So acid precipitation can cause the acidity of the soil to increase. This process is called acidification, and it changes the balance of a soil's chemistry, which negatively affects plants, which can be very bad. And the effects of acid precipitation in some parts of the world within forest has damaged large areas of forest. So again, we have to be really careful with what pollutants we're putting out into the atmosphere. If acid precipitation increases the acidity of a lake or a stream, all things that are there are going to be affected. Your aquatic plants, your fish, and other aquatic organisms may die due to that. So you've probably heard of something called the ozone hole. Remember, we've been talking about the different layers of the atmosphere. And we know that Earth's protective ozone layer, according to some scientists, is thinning over both the Arctic and the Antarctic regions. And if this is truly happening, then these ozone holes would allow more UV radiation to penetrate our atmosphere, which we now know UV radiation damages your genes, genes, and can cause skin cancer. So it allows those rays to actually reach down to Earth's surface and affect us. So in 1987, many nations agreed to reduce the use of CFCs, which are these chemicals that cause ozone depletion. And because the CFCs remain active for anywhere from 60 to 120 years, we're still within that, it will take many years for the ozone layer to recover. So what these CFCs are, these chemicals, an example of that would be what was found in hairspray, and they have since changed that chemical makeup to where it doesn't have as many of these harmful CFCs that cause this pollution to occur and the ozone layer to be depleted. So short-term effects of air pollution, you can cough, sneeze, have headaches, your eyes can be irritated. So when they have those poor air quality days posted, if you have any of those things happen to you, like if you already have asthma, then you're going to be more affected than someone who doesn't. So you can avoid this by staying indoors on those days when the air quality is poor. And then some long-term effects of air pollution could be something as serious as lung cancer. And these are particularly dangerous because these long-term effects may not be noticed right away. It may take many years of being exposed to these pollutants before you determine, something's wrong, and then it's too late at that point. So again, what can we do about this? We've got the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. They set quality standards to protect against the effects of air pollution on human health, as well as on crops, vegetation, and buildings. And there was a Clean Air Act that was passed that requires many industries to use those pollution control devices that I talked about earlier. So some ways to get companies to get on board with this: they're fined if they exceed those limits put forth by the EPA, and then they're rewarded if they have low emissions. The EPA now requires car makers to meet a certain standard for vehicle exhaust. And then, of course, a new technology reduces these emissions, and they're constantly being developed. And then we, as people, can make choices to reduce air pollution, such as carpooling instead of everybody, driving their own car, kind of ride together, and also by conserving electricity. All right, this concludes our study of not only Lesson 4 in Chapter 6, but all of